This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Andy Clarke here in London. Andy, always a pleasure. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Jealous of Tebbert and Deck Taylor being over in Las Vegas. I was saying to Rob last week, what's wrong with me and Barry? Why can't, why don't we get the call to go over to Las Vegas? So I'm working on that. But yeah, it's your call, Las Vegas. It's the same thing, really, isn't it?
It certainly is. Where would you rather be is the serious question here. And who are Caroline Dubois returns, she headlines, she looks to pick up the IBO title regardless of people's opinions on it. But as she steps between the ropes, as she headlines, what are your thoughts on that main event?
I like it. Magali Rodriguez is a good fighter, proper fighter. Switches around the weights as female fighters are more capable of doing than the men. I think everybody knows that now. She's maybe more of a featherweight, super featherweight, but up at lightweight. Boxed Estelle Marcelli at super lightweight in her last fight. Got a draw in that fight. I thought she was slightly unlucky not to get the win. And she's been pro since she was 17. So, she's got plenty about her. They're very good at the matchmaking, the McGuigans. Shane's just away to our right-hand side. But they are, because you look at how they brought Josh Taylor through, Chris Billham-Smith, and those are two completely different cases. They get it right, and I think off the back of Lascano, who was a good fight for her here in June, I think they've picked the perfect person again, because she will look to engage Rodriguez, and she believes in herself. Their attitude to it, really, the team, is that if Dubois isn't quite what people think that she is, then Rodriguez will beat her. So I like it as a main event, and as you say with the IBO, we all know that the four major sanctioning bodies, if you like, but at the same time, it's a good title to have, and it's really the only one that's available at the moment, because Katie Taylor's kind of got those four lightweight titles. I wouldn't say she's holding them to ransom exactly, that wouldn't really be fair, but she's not going to have boxed for any of them all year, because she's been up at super lightweight against Chantal Cameron.
Just moving away from his card, Andy, there's a couple of fights which happened this past weekend I want to get your thoughts on. Obviously over here in the UK we saw Joyce defeated once again to Zhang. She had a third round stoppage victory this time around for Zhang. What did you make of what we saw?
It was a very hard night for him, obviously, and I felt going into it that he might be able to turn it around, that he would be better than he was the first time. But every time that Zhang landed on him, and he started to land on him with that left hand firstly in the second round, it looked like it was hurting him, and that is a worry, because previously he'd seemed so indestructible, and I think maybe we all got a bit carried away with that, because you can't just keep taking massive shots forever. It just doesn't work, not at that weight. And this time it was the right hand that did the damage, and he went down hard. Somehow managed to get up by the count of 10, but the referee waved it off by that point. But even so, the powers of recovery, never ceased to amaze you, really. But it was, Zhang is a good fighter. He's got great mechanics. He just threw that left hand out there, got himself coiled, ready to throw the right, and he doesn't put tons into every punch, but he's massive and he's got good timing. And he says he'll be back, Joe, and I believe him. I'm sure he will be, but I think it's really hard for him now, because people will look at him and they will realise that, like everybody else in the history of boxing, he can be hurt, and it's tough. It's a tough spot he's in.
With Zhang himself, obviously he had a hero's reception when he arrived back in China. What would you like to see next from him? I've seen Anthony Joshua mentioned. I know you've got to deal with promotional differences there, but a potential Joshua-Zhang fight of interest to you, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If I was Team Joshua, I'm not really sure if I'd really want too much to do with Zhang. Not because you don't think you'll win. Everyone thinks they're going to win. Nobody's scared. It's just, why? Why that? It's the
same question as what Joe had: high risk, low reward.
Yeah, exactly that. The fight with Wilder is what we all want to see. But if for any reason that isn't going to happen, then Wilder-Zhang, I'd be all over that like a rash. I think Wilder-Zhang would be, could be a terrific fight. And if they can't get that fight with Joshua made for whatever reason, maybe Wilder's people would fancy it, because, he kind of fancies anything, doesn't he, really? And the way he came back against Fury in that third fight, nothing seems to have really changed with his mindset. We don't really know how much that third fight might have taken away from him, because he only, it was only a round against Helenius, wasn't it? But I think Zhang, he hasn't got time to waste, obviously, because he's 40, but at the same time, he's a big problem for anybody. I genuinely believe that. And yeah, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him. Yeah, Wilder. That'd be a great fight.
Speaking of southpaw heavyweights, Wallin returns against Gassiev this weekend. A very interesting fight. What's your take on that?
Yeah, Gassiev's not quite done it, has he? Really? You know, since he turned professional, obviously he was at cruiserweight, and he's turned pro at heavyweight. The progress has been relatively slow. I feel like that's quite a good fight for Wallin because, through no fault of his own, I wouldn't say he's been frozen out exactly because he's not on that top level. He's one below it, but people don't seem to really want to fight him. His name gets mentioned quite a lot, but then nothing really happens. So I think he needs a win like this to kind of just put himself back in some kind of reckoning. And I would fancy him. Yeah, I would fancy him to beat Gassiev, I think.
And then just away from that one, the return of Conor Benn out in Florida. Did you watch him? And if so, what did you make of it?
I didn't watch it at the time, but I watched highlights the next day. He looked like he boxed pretty well to me. The other guy looked tough, but he's been out for a long time. And if you're just looking at the performance and kind of setting to one side all the other stuff, which you can't really, and we shouldn't, I thought he boxed pretty well. I think they'll be happy with 10 rounds after such a long absence from the ring. That was a super welter, wasn't it? I'm feeling like welterweight is still where he should probably be. Whether that's doable for him anymore or not, I don't really know, because obviously he was planning to box a middleweight and then he's been out for ages, and he's probably still thinking that he's going to box a middleweight against Eubank if that happens. So it could be that he spent quite a long time above welterweight and it might be difficult to get back down there. I don't know, but I feel like he should. If he can, he should.
Obviously, there's still a lot of talk about his case, which is ongoing there with UCAD and the board's appeal. But aside from that, the talk of a junior fight going ahead now, obviously being cancelled previously last October. Junior up and middleweight, we just saw Conor Benn at 154. The most recent versions of both men, who do you favour now?
Eubank. I always favoured Eubank. I thought the 157 thing would be an issue because he would have to deplete himself to get down to 157. But if it's a 160, and this is the thing, this time around, if it happens, I don't really see anything being on Benn's terms, because Eubank is the one who's come into it off a big win. Eubank isn't the one who's shrouded in controversy due to failing to drug tests, which is a fact. You know, that's the only fact we really have in that entire situation still, which is bizarre, but that's where we are with it. So there's going to be no 157 and rehydration clauses. You know, Eubank will be able to say, I'm giving you the opportunity here. You need me much more than I need you. 160, straight, done. Either sign or don't sign. So you've got to make Eubank a favourite. Yeah, you have to. You'd be mad not to.
All right, Andy, I appreciate you stepping in and doing this interview. Now I'm going to leave you to shoot off and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for speaking to me, and I'll catch you again on Fight Night.
No problem.